a few weeks ago, I tried to film a portion of this film, Legend, with Tom Hardy, about the Kray twins, and I tried to upload it and it just blocked me straight away worldwide. Didn't matter what I did with the clip. I tried a few times, it just wouldn't let me put it up. And there is a portion in the film where there's two conversations that I wanted to show you, really. I watched the old film of the Krays and I knew Ronnie was gay. I was quite young when I watched it, though. I didn't see any indicators of him being a paedophile and that, but I might not be remembering it properly. In the most recent film, there's no outright, it doesn't suggest it outright, but it is definitely hinting at it, on him liking boys that are too young. So in this first scene, I just want to let you know, I really love Tom Hardy. He is my favourite actor. I've been a fan of him for about 10 years. I love pretty much everything he does as an actor. I'm not buying into the system. I can watch TV, I can watch films, I know the symbolism, I see it, I know that it's only showing what it wants to show. I know the truth of the situation, and I look into the truth of the situation, so it's fine. I'm not buying into anything. So because I can't play the clips, I've just written down what's said, and I will show you the screenshots. So here this guy owns Las Vegas, and he's trying to move into the British territory, which at the time in the 60s was owned by the Krays. And so they're kind of agreeing on things, and this guy says something to him about, I'll get you a nice Italian girl. And he says, I prefer boys, not men. He says boys. It's only a small thing. He says, Italian, sometimes Greek, but I am not prejudiced. I happen to have had a word I'm not going to say beginning with an N, and a Tahitian who I bent up like a pretzel. I really fucking hurt him. In this scene, Reggie has ended up in prison, so Ronnie, who is the paranoid schizophrenic, is kind of left to run everything, and he's telling this guy, Payne, who works for Reg, that he wants $50,000. It's not what he's saying with him, it's just the way Tom Hardy delivers things. It just makes me laugh, and as I'm watching this, I can't help but hear how he sounds in my head as I'm reading this. He wants this money, $50,000, to build a city for the children in Africa near Enugu, and he says, I can make that somewhere where people will smile at me and children will dance. So because Payne rejects his demands for the £50,000, he then goes to visit Lord Boothby, and as you can see here, now Lord Boothby, I can't remember what the address was, but his address was number 1. It's in the article that I'm going to read you in a minute, I think. But his address was number 1 something. But Hollywood have decided to make him live at number 33, or number 3,333. But either way, Hollywood decided to put 33 in there. Isn't that funny? All the people that say we're paranoid about this stuff. Anyway, moving on. So this is Ronnie with Lord Boothby, and they describe him as a distinguished member of the House of Lords. And he says no to Ronnie's proposal, but because it's too far for him away to be personally involved in. This is Ronnie's boyfriend, who looks young. He's not young, obviously, but he looks young. But he's so sweet, actually, bless him. But he's making the drinks, and the creepy old Lord Boothby, he looks up at him and he says, I have to do his voice because I have to attempt to, just to give you the feeling of how creepy this guy is. He says, he's really lovely, isn't he? Ugh. And then Teddy says, would you like ice and a slice, my lord? And he says, yes, ice and a slice, teddy bear, please. And he says, do you know where the lemons are particularly lovely and fresh? In Enugu. And then Teddy gives him the drink, and he says, down the hatch. And then he looks at him and goes, do you like it down the hatch, Teddy? Anyway, so disgusting. So he rejects Ron's offer, but then they end up friends anyway, and they're having these orgies at Ron's flat. Again, you can see the lad here is young, but not underage young necessarily, and there's a picture of some weird cherubs on a lion on the wall here. And he's just kind of walking around, lording it around as he would. And he says to this guy sitting here, he says, all alone, no need to be, plenty of fruit in the tree. Ugh. And moves on to this guy here who has gay porn in the background. He says, not in the House of Commons tonight, Tom. Gross. And then Ron Kray is just, I mean, they've only depicted some light violence here because obviously they're not going to show you how far it actually goes, but you've got a young lad here who looks he doesn't want to be there, you know, in his pants, his dirty little pants, bless him. And Ronnie Kray just spanking him, and I think it just shows, I mean, you can really imagine those sorts of parties being like that, you know, these sociopathic, sadistic fuckers doing this, and then you've got these smarmy blokes who during the day act like they're these moral, you know, these government people smarming around and laughing at us all. It's just, they must get off on it like mad. Okay, so let's have a look at Robert Boothby, Baron Boothby. Okay, so Robert John Graham Boothby, Baron Boothby, KBE, who is now dead, often known as Bob Boothby, was a British Conservative politician. So he went to Eton College, Oxford. He was elected as Member of Parliament in 1924. He was Parliamentary Private Secretary to Chancellor of the Exchequer Winston Churchill. He was a Royal Air Force Volunteer Reserve, Council of Europe. So he's held a lot of positions of power. I believe the wiki page does kind of what Hollywood does, and only I don't think it mentions children, it just says young men, so we'll leave that there. Now, this page is brilliant. It's, again, the UK Database Online Sex Offenders Register. The story, I'll leave the link to all of these in the description, is very detailed, very long, but it's got a lot of really good information in here. I'd be reading for ages, though, if I read this all out to you. And we all know I struggle with my reading. Oh, here we go. Yeah, his original address, Boothby, was number 1 Eaton Square. And if you look at that house and compare it to the picture we looked at before, it looks the same. It's got these white pillars, but it was number 1. Yet Hollywood chooses to change that to 33. Yet again. But this is the one I want to read out to you, this article, because and I used to live in a village out near another village called Bilderston, and they apparently had a lot of dealings with a pub in Bilderston back in the day. There was a lot of exchange going backwards and forwards. But in this one, and we know, like I pointed out, the Suffolk connection between certain things the other day, but this brings Suffolk up again. Okay, so behind the legend, the Krays cover-up involving elite paedophile ring. In contrast to the lovable rogues portrayed throughout popular culture, the Kray twins were in fact both cold and sadistic gangsters that terrorised the regular working people of the East End, and further evidence suggests they had not only capitalised on protection rackets, but also had involvements with elite paedophile rings, and were central to a large-scale juvenile pimping operation. Ronnie Kray's relationship and notorious sex orgies with Conservative politician Lord Robert Boothby is now common knowledge, even though at the time there was a carefully orchestrated cover-up contacted by the government, resulting in the Daily Mirror having to retract the story and pay out $40,000 in compensation money. Author John Pearson writes, "This cover-up, I can reveal, went to the very doors of 10 Downing Street, which is kind of our White House. The police were told to back off. This delayed the Krays' arrest for 5 years, making them untouchable, in comparison to other gangs like the Richardsons, who were sentenced to prison in 1966. This seeming invincibility only assured what is now their legendary status." Pearson also notes that these orgies, held at Ronnie's flat in Cedar Court, were host to other prominent figures, such as ex-Liberal Party leader Jeremy Thorpe and Labour's Tom Dryburgh, and that they included underage boys, some as young as 10 years old. These are letters between Boothby and Kray, which are hard to read. Not because of the content, I mean they're literally hard to read. I can't read his handwriting. Ronnie Hart, cousin of the Krays, also admits that the brothers would procure young boys for Boothby in exchange for favours, and other various gang members have also given testimonials. The teenage boys that were lured into these parties were mainly heterosexual and found at the boxing clubs. That is a quote from John McVicker, who was a 1960s East End criminal. Another gang member claimed he had overheard Ronnie threatening to hurt a reluctant young boy unless he had sexual relations with Lord Boothby. Ex-henchman Booby? But that's got to be a typo. You telling me there's a henchman called Booby Teal? That must be Bobby. I don't even care if it really is Booby. I'm saying Bobby. Ex-henchman Bobby Teal also claims the reason he informed on the brothers was due to Ronnie's sexual interest in his brother. The Daily Mirror reports, "But he knew the gangster who had raped and abused a string of young men never stopped until he got what he wanted. As soon as he went for my brother, I knew I couldn't walk away. You had to keep your wits about you if you were a young man and Ronnie really fancied you." Veteran entertainer Jess Conrad also reported to the Daily Mirror, "Word used to go out that the Krays were on their way to a certain pub and all the good-looking boys would piss off, because otherwise if he asked you to go back to the house you had to go back and that was it." This is all in stark contrast to Mad Frankie Fraser's famous statement, "Everyone in the East End loved the Krays, no women got mugged and no children were tampered with." But as Fraser happens to run a Krays tourist attraction, it only serves to benefit him to perpetuate the lovable The lovable rogue myth. In addition to hosting orgies held at Ronnie's flat and various other flats in London, including DJ Alan Freeman, close friend of known paedophile Jimmy Savile, the Krays also had connections to Tattingstone, Suffolk paedophile ring, where Boothby was a frequent visitor. So we've got the Suffolk connection again. And I know I said it before, and I'll keep saying it, this place, and I've felt it since I was little, is weird. There's a really weird vibe around this place. This also, Suffolk, has the the most famous UFO story from back in the 70s or something, I believe. There's something weird going on with this place. It's very, very weird, Suffolk. In 1967, a 17-year-old boy, Bernard Oliver, was found murdered there with his body dismembered and left in 2 separate suitcases. English record producer and songwriter Joe Meeks, another rumoured lover of Ronnie Kray, had been arrested in suspicion of the boy's death and committed suicide less than a month later. The Krays also had a known interest in East Anglia. East Anglia is where Suffolk is, often being seen giving donkey rides to young boys and having active involvement with youth clubs and supposed unlimited access to various children homes. Postcards and letters between Boothby and Kray also hinted at visits to the paedophile ring operation running out of the Haute de la Garenne children's home in Jersey. For those of you that haven't seen Sun, Sea and Satan, I'll leave the link in the description for that as well. People looking into this kind of stuff that haven't watched that, please go and watch it. It's the bloke. I love this bloke. If I ever meet the guy who made these films, if I ever meet him, I want to shake his hand. He's awesome. It's awful, really, really awful. But I'll leave the link to that also. So there's not really much left of this documentary. As I said, there is this one. I'll leave the link to the description if you want to go through and have a more detailed look. I just had a little look into, just out of curiosity, to child trafficking in Enugu. And if you Google it, there's tons of cases. Tons and tons and tons and tons of cases. So I don't know if that's linked, if he ever got his plan going or somebody else took it on, I don't know, but it's interesting that it seems to happen a lot there. Before I end this video completely, though, I just want to say, I know that Ronnie Kray was a homosexual, and I know that Ronnie Kray was a paedophile. That does not make all homosexuals paedophiles. Just like it doesn't make all straight people paedophiles. I have gay friends, I have transgender friends. I myself, I like men and women. And I'm sorry if this offends anybody or if it loses me a couple of subs. I hope that we can carry on to continue to respect each other and that this doesn't change anything. But I won't have people commenting on this video or any and slating homosexuals. So I would appreciate it, guys, if no homophobic comments were left, because by leaving them, you're insulting me. And that message is to my subs, not the people that don't give a shit whether they offend me or not. Just the people that do. But anyway, now that we've got all that out of the way, thank you guys, as always, for watching, and I'll speak to you soon.